So now we have certain definitions, right? It becomes very important that we study these different types of different definitions given by different jurists, writers, or scholars and have an understanding on them. Maybe for the purpose of your exam, you can remember some 4 or 5 definitions and accordingly prepare them. All right. So first definition which we have is the definition given by Professor The first definition that we have is the definition given by Professor I.L. Oppenheim. So how Oppenheim has defined international law, it is law of nations or international law is the name for the body of customary and conventional rules which are considered legally binding by civilized states in their intercourse with each other. That means we are a civilized nation or a country, right? We need to deal with other different countries. We cannot just operate without any connection with outside world. We need to have some sort of communication with other countries, right? It may be in terms of trade, it may be in terms of some medical facilities that we need. Like during COVID, you must have seen people are importing vaccines, people are exporting vaccines, some other oxygen facility, other like medicines and other stuff. That is what we are communicating. We are having some kind of communication with outside countries as well. So law of nations or international law may be defined as a body of rules and principles. That means what is international law? It is a set of rules and regulations, right? It is a set of rules and regulations which are binding upon civilized state. That means which will be binding on us when we interact with other countries, right? When we interact with other nations, how are we supposed to do those interactions? How are we supposed to do those transactions? With regard to that, it frames certain rules and regulations, right? And that is nothing but what international law is. Basically, it will tell us how we need to communicate, right? How we need to interact with other different countries, other different nations. So this is a very simple definition given by Oppenheim. If you see your books, right, there are a lot of definitions given. Some of them are very lengthy. Some of them might be very complicated. You may find it difficult to remember those definitions. So these 5 that I have picked up, these are very simple definitions which you can easily remember. All right. In case you are feeling, okay, fine, I'm just reading 3 definitions for the purpose of my exam, you can accordingly pick 3 definitions, right? Whichever definition you feel is the easiest, you can go for that as well. All right. So it depends on you which definition you want to go for and which definition you want to skip. This is the first definition which we had, I.L. Oppenheim. Now, second one is given by J.L. Brearley. Law of nations or international law may be defined as the body of rules and principles of action which are binding upon civilized states in their relation with one another. This again is somewhat similar with the previous definition that we had, that what is international law? It is body of rules and principles of action which will be again binding on civilized states in their relation with one another. What kind of relations will be maintained by one country with the other, like in terms of maybe asylum, in terms of some sending diplomat councils and other stuff, right? What sort of relations we will maintain with the other country, that is nothing but international law. Third definition is given by Quinn V. Cairn. The law of nation is that collection of usages which civilized states have agreed to observe in their dealings with one another. That means it is collection of usages. It is collection of some practices which the civilized states have agreed, right? All these civilized countries have agreed, okay, fine, these are the things that we are going to observe. These are the things that we are going to follow in our dealings with one another. When I deal with you, I'm going to follow these set of rules and regulations, and same you also need to do. When you deal with me, you also need to follow this set of rules and regulations. All right. So that is another definition of international law which is being given. Now, fourth definition. So we have come to fourth definition, which is given by Gray. International law or law of nations is the name of a body of rules which, according to usual definitions, regulate conduct of states in their intercourse with each other. So these definitions, if you see, right, they are somewhat similar with one another only, and it's not difficult, right? These are the easiest definitions that I have picked from the book, so you can go for this. What Gray said, international law or law of nations is what it is: name of body of rules which, according to usual definitions, regulate conduct of states in their intercourse with others. So it will regulate our conduct when we are dealing with other different states, right? So this is the definition given by Gray. Again, very simple to remember. And last definition which we have is from Kelsen. International law or the law of nations is the name of a body of rules which, according to the usual definition, regulate the conduct of states in their intercourse with one another. So these are somewhat similar with one another, right? It basically says whatever rules or regulations or set of principles we follow while dealing with another country or another nation or in our relations with another nation, that is only nothing but international law. Okay, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 definitions that we have, and you can go for the ones that you feel are easier for you. Okay, I would suggest you should at least remember or at least by heart 3 or 4 definitions, because there can be a question that define international law, and along with that there may be another part of question. Okay, so you can read like 3, 4 definitions and that should be enough for you. Whichever you are finding easier, right, from this part, you can go for that only. Okay, so we are done with definitions of international law.